Are we live?
I think we're live.
Okay, we're live. But you had to let this flip so I could light mine.
Don't wait for me.
I need to use the lighter I stole from you that you stole back.
Uh-huh. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and non-binaries of the internet land. You're on the smoke break with DJ Stealth and Trouble 860,
AKA Evie, who just got her lighter stolen back from the original owner.
AKA CPT is her middle name.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Okay, so here's the problem. So I was smoking earlier today, and I ended up having to go to TJ Exotics on Sisson Ave, and they got like all these international foods and stuff. So they didn't pay me to say this. I'm high and hungry, and I love them because I feel like international chips might have like less chemicals in them. Overseas are like really strict with the food and whatnot.
Sometimes. Look at the ingredient. Okay. Yesterday, some friends of mine, me and some friends of mine looked up the most common British foods and the hilarious results. For one, the Heinz company has saw fit to reintroduce a British classic back to British freezers. Baked bean pizza. Yep, baked bean pizza. You heard that correctly. Heinz made a frozen baked bean pizza for the British public. Why baked beans? Because beans on toast is a common breakfast food there, as well as beans being a part of what they call a full English breakfast, which includes fried eggs, mushrooms, tomatoes, ham, sausage, and baked beans.
Wow, no wonder they colonized the rest of the world for spices. Holy shit.
Oh, and then the hilarious names that they come up with. There's a dish called spotted dick.
Do they serve that in prison to celebrities?
No, it's actually a sort of sponge pudding that also includes fat from sheep kidneys, and it's drenched in custard.
Oh my God! So
it also has currants in it.
That reminds me, for some reason. Okay, so tell me that you guys also have a West Indian version of this as well, right?
Nope.
So no, I'm about to explain it. So you know how there's chitlins and Jamaicans also have their version of pig intestines. Puerto Ricans, what they do is they stuff it with rice and they soak the rice in pig's blood, and then they cook it, and it's nasty. Do y'all on the Virgin Islands have a pig intestine version of some bullshit?
No, but we have callaloo stew, and sometimes a common ingredient that uses pigtails.
That's not even bad.
But as far as like a slave food, Virgin Islands, I think the closest thing that we have, and it's not even really a slave food, just an African take on a Danish food, is fish and fungi. So, the Danish had a dish where I forgot the kind of fish they had. It was fish and some kind of cornmeal that they had. We just did our version of it. It was called fish and fungi. If you're from Barbados or St. Lucia, you may know it as cuckoo. But in the Virgin Islands, it's known as fish and fungi. It's spelled fungi, pronounced fungi.
That's pretty dope. So I used to dread whenever my family from Puerto Rico would come because they would always bring us guys.
Okay, Puerto Ricans and the British have something in common.
What?
You have a similar dish with different names.
What do they call their bullshit?
Black pudding. But in Puerto Rico and also Spain,
Morcillas?
blood sausage.
Morcillas. Oh.
Yeah, so Great Britain has its own version and they call it black pudding.
It's horrible.
I think I'll stick to fish and chips and shepherd's pie. Northern Ireland being part of the UK, shepherd's pie is kind of adopted as a British food.
Wait, so you were telling me earlier something about what Tory Lanez ate?
Yeah, while we're on the subject. Why is it that we always know what black celebrities in prison had as their first meal? So there's an entire article dedicated to what Tory Lanez ate on Christmas Day in prison.
What did he eat on Christmas Day in prison?
He had turkey, mashed potatoes. I know he had cranberry sauce. I'm thinking off the top of my head.
That was nice of him. Was it the canned one? Because the canned one is better than homemade.
I'm pretty sure they did canned because homemade costs more to make.
Good.
We're talking about California prisons on top of that.
Yeah, so don't they only serve about 10% of their time in California?
I'm not sure. Because Tory Lanez is not a native of the U.S., I'm not sure how they're handling that portion of it.
I don't feel that Tory Lanez.
In a way, I don't either. He did it to himself, but in another way, I do see the argument about how the media is using Tory and propping him up as an example. And
black women.
And it's the same media that is allowing, basically, kind of fanning the flames of the "I don't believe Meg" crowd.
I don't believe Meg. You want to hear something? So here's what bugs me. So everyone has gotten their law degree, apparently, on Twitter and Facebook. They want to examine all the things. So, first of all, the reason that Meg was even given immunity in the first place is because she made a false statement to police. What was the false statement? That she stepped on glass. What did they find? Bullet fragments. So, in order to compel her to testify, they had to give her immunity because she goes to prison if she doesn't testify. So, yes, she was compelled to testify.
And lying to the police, even about that detail, is an arrestable offense.
Correct.
Now, the reason why the other girl was given immunity, I don't know.
That bitch.
I don't know why. Now, people are saying about the lack of evidence part, the fact that there was no DNA of Tory's found on the gun, and all three parties had gun residue on them.
I wonder why it was a close range shooting.
And at the same time, no one has given any updates about the missing bodyguard.
Oh, he came back.
He did?
Yeah, they found he came back. He found himself. Right, the day after the trial ended.
He really didn't want to testify.
Oh yeah, they're gonna sit there and hang that man up to dry.
So, with all of that said, clearly all three parties are guilty about lying in some way, shape, or form. And now, despite lack of DNA evidence, one thing that Tory's defense failed to do was prove that Tory was actually innocent. And that's why he was found guilty. Now, we know he's innocent until proven guilty, but some melanin folk are guilty until proven innocent. That means if you're on the defense side, you better have a concrete way to prove that you're innocent. And Tory didn't deliver that. Hence, he's guilty.
He did already have pending gun charges at the time of the shooting, and everyone forgets that.
I didn't. I watched the IG before he got arrested.
Really?
He was showing off massive guns with extendos, talking about assault rifles and whatnot.
Smart man.
And in Florida, of all places, he showed the guns, and then he shows himself giggling, and he shows more guns, and he shows himself giggling. I think ATF nabbed him the next day.
Social media, especially when you have that type of platform, it's a motherfucker.
It's bad enough that you're black in America. Even worse, and it doesn't matter what country you're actually from. You're a black person not from America. You're a black immigrant. So what if Canada is a first world country? You're still a black immigrant because it's not America.
You want to hear something crazy? So it turns out, as much as they say that most illegal immigrants, they make it seem like they come from South America. The number one country that most illegals come from are Canada. So it's Canadian.
Yeah. So what ends up happening, and it's not even just black Canadians, it's just immigrants are crossing from Canada because the Mexican border is more heavily patrolled while the Canadian side is like, eh. As a matter of fact, in Vermont, you can walk across the border. There's a bridge. Yeah. You show your passport, you're free to go. But there's also a lot of Canadian border that is not patrolled at all, at least not regularly.
I remember, when was it that they instituted that policy, some deportation policy, so they all went to Canada from the United States? Or was it when Trump was elected?
Actually, funny story. I think it was the Canadian official travel website or tourism website.
Mm-hmm.
Actually part of the message enticing Mexicans to move to Canada.
Why?
Because they treat their immigrants with kindness.
Well, at least they treat someone with kindness, even though Native Americans...
Yeah, First Nations, we know.
Yeah.
And also Canada's rocky history with black people as well. The original Nova Scotia settlements and all of that.
And Justin Trudeau being two-faced.
However, Canada is the first, and not necessarily super hot country, but we'll say first world country, free trade country that has a black woman officially on their currency.
Who?
I can't remember the woman's name. She was the owner of a hairdresser, a hair salon or something like that.
In Canada?
In Canada. And I think this incident took place in Ottawa, if I'm not mistaken. That's the country's capital. She was denied entry into a movie theater because she wasn't white, despite the fact that she was relatively wealthy for a black woman. And her protests against that establishment changed some laws in Canada earlier than the U.S. Matter of fact.
Viola Desmond.
Yes.
And she lived from 1914 to 1965.
Yes. Now, she changed Canadian history. She is currently on the Canadian $50 bill.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling up $10.
Oh, is it a $10 bill?
Yeah.
Still, she's on. We have a majority white country with a black woman on currency.
Yeah, I'm actually pulling up the image now.
We're still waiting on our Harriet Tubman $20 bills.
Oh yeah, that's never gonna happen. Come on now.
Obviously, there's black people on currency, but there's usually in black countries. As a matter of fact, in some of those black countries, there's still white people on currency.
Isn't it usually the queen, but they're gonna switch over to like the king now?
Yeah. I'm guessing there's a lot of older Queen Elizabeth coins that are suddenly going to skyrocket in value.
You think so, right?
Probably not, because a quarter from before Kennedy was shot versus a quarter from after Kennedy was shot is still a quarter.
Quarter or the $50?
I think the older $50 do have value, but
Do
the
they?
Dispel a Myth, $2 bills do not increase in value. It's just $2. Spend that shit.
You know, I've told people that and they don't believe me. I'm actually, I pulled up the image real quick, so I'm going to show everyone. There we go. So that's it right there. That's her holding it. No, it's not.
No, she died.
She died in 65. Who is that?
Her daughter, maybe.
Maybe. Let's go to the article real quick. We'll do that after. But yeah, hold on.
I mean, a lot of people watch the show after it's live. So if you're watching from Canada, tell me what it's like having a black woman on your $10 bill.
I think the only Canadian that might watch our show is probably my brother. If he watches.
I don't think he's Canadian.
No, he has Canadian citizenship. Remember, he married a Canadian.
Yeah.
I love her.
I guess Arnold Schwarzenegger's American now.
Yeah, I mean, he can't run for president, but he did run for governor.
He plays Americans. despite the Russian the Austrian accent.
Austrian.
He speaks German. He spoke Russian in the movie.
I need to steal your leather again. Thank you so much. You're holding on to this one tight tonight, aren't you?
Yep. So, comment down below how you like the hot box format. This is something we're going to be doing more periodically.
It gets me higher.
Yeah, because you got super lungs over here while sometimes I got shit to do and I can't be smoking at the time.
I just spoke at work.
Yeah, there's some work I can't smoke while working.
Yeah, we don't all work in healthcare, so. Yeah.
We also don't all work with children.
I don't work with kids.
I do sometimes.
Oh yeah. So.
I mean, as much of a proponent of marijuana I am, I'm not promoting its use to the youth. So I'm sure there's kids that already know what it looks like when their parents are high. So why am I going to show up high teaching them? When they get older and of age to make their own decisions, they can do with the information what they will. I have a 11-year-old niece who's probably never ever going to smoke a day in her life. She already doesn't curse.
I didn't curse till I was about 13.
Shoot. 3rd grade, we couldn't wait for adults to leave so we could start cussing.
I was smoking at 12, cussing at 13.
I was cussing at 9 and didn't smoke till I was 18.
Oh.
Which is still pretty young, but still, I mean.
Jamie doesn't smoke.
So, we're doing a lot of talk about Black Canadians. Thank you, Tory Lane. You at least gifted this. We're highlighting Black Canadians, not named Drake.
I'm still upset about Kanye saying that he's the best rapper alive and people taking anything he had to say seriously.
Okay, in his defense, if you're a rapper and you do not believe you're the best rapper alive, quit rapping.
Kanye said that about Drake. Okay,
Kanye saying this about his former adversary, that Drake is the best rapper alive. That's his opinion and he's entitled to it.
I'm Drake Champs.
I disagree. And I also don't believe that there's only one singular great rapper, because there's many greats. There's too many greats to narrow it down to just one person above all.
Sir, it's a no.
It's a no for both Drake and Kanye, in my opinion. But there's also the certified greats that you cannot argue are great. There's some game-changing greats. Some you cannot deny their skill greats. Despite the skin color, you Eminem haters.
Oh shit. So I just noticed that we're about at the halfway point and we have not plugged Kimura, who needs so real quick. Please make sure to subscribe to Kimura's Patreon if you have not. Awesome woman, does great work. Kimura'sCulturalCorner.com. Check her out. Here's a little bit about what she does.
Practicing and living in community means that we're responsible to ourselves and others. It means that we're committed to engaging humbly and bravely with others who we may not agree with, but who share a similar worldview. Tensions and conflicts are gifts that allow us to grow together. Join our peaceful revolution.
And we're back.
All right. That's Kimura's Cultural Corner. Subscribe to our Patreon. Our Facebook fans will be pinning the link to our Patreon to the top of the page.
Can you do it? Because I'm in the Facebook chat.
I will do that.
Awesome.
I think we should do that on our IG and Twitter as well.
So what we can do actually is I'll show you how to get into the link tree.
All right. So while we want to elaborate on what Kimura is going through.
What you mean? It's on her Facebook. Public. If someone stole her car, she needs to get a new one. Please subscribe to her Patreon.
Well, I didn't want to get into details for my own sake because I want to whoop this person's ass that did it. But anyway,
they broke their arm and leg already.
That's not going to stop them from ass whooping. but then again, that is karma. Anyway, help a sister out. She does amazing work in the city and in the community. She is a wonderful. She's a wonderful overall person. A leader, a mother, a speaker, a fighter. She deserves all your love and all your support.
And an awesome cannabis activist.
Right. So back to spotlighting Black Canada.
So, funny thing, and I learned this with Kimura about Black Canadians. So, guess what the two biggest concentrations are of Jamaicans in North America besides Jamaica?
I know this answer. Connecticut.
Where in Connecticut?
Hartford, Connecticut.
Mm-hmm. Number 2?
Toronto, Ontario.
There we go. I learned that there. And I was like, what? And I'm like, wait, that makes sense.
And then there's large communities in Brooklyn and Miami, Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia.
Yes, Nova Scotia is actually where the oldest Black Canadian community was settled, mostly comprised of runaway slaves from the United States.
Nice.
And then later on, some freed slaves from Jamaica. Why they chose Nova Scotia, I don't remember. I remember reading an article about it, but I don't remember it. But somehow there were some Jamaicans in Nova Scotia in the early days. Some ended up going back to Jamaica due to hating the weather, naturally. But fun fact, that Nova Scotia settlement, very, very famous American descendant, has his roots in Nova Scotia.
Who?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Nice.
His father, Rocky Johnson, was born in Nova Scotia.
That's dope.
And that's his his black side, his Afro Canadian side. And
Because his mother is from Hawaii. Right.
She's Samoan.
Dope.
I think there's trace of Cuban heritage as well.
He didn't mention that in his autobiography, I think.
But culturally, it was just Black and Samoan.
Oh, side note. So we do need to mention the contest. So, we are ironing out the details right now, but we are going to be running a contest. No purchase required or accepted. But if you're between the ages of 21 to 26 and you live in the Greater Hartford area, please make sure to submit 2 reasons via Twitter at BLM860 why you should vote for the chance to get yourself a free cannabis pre-roll. So, and we'll be running that every so often until Election Day.
All right. We'll be putting that information on our Facebook page as well.
Yes.
So the African diaspora in general, we don't often talk about Canada, Great Britain, or France. Whenever we talk about the African diaspora, we always solely focus on USA and certain parts of Caribbean. We rarely touch on Central and South America and its African diaspora pockets.
Well, let's talk about how the fact that 40% of all Africans that were kidnapped ended up in Brazil. And yet they don't want to act like they got Black people in Brazil.
Brazil pretends it doesn't have a majority Black population.
And I wonder why that is. Other than the obvious.
It was only in recent years that Mexico even counted Africans on their census.
What would they count them as before?
There was no category for Black Mexicans. Like 0 existed. Imagine you're filling out a census and there's no option for non-white Hispanic.
I'd check off everything though.
But you see my point.
Yeah.
An entire sub what's the word I'm looking for?
Subculture.
Not really subculture because they're still culturally Mexican, but
No, I mean, let's think about it like this.
we have an entire ethnic group that was ignored by the government.
By the government, by the media, by the entertainment industry in Central America. It's horrible. So anytime you're going to see a black person on TV, on Spanish language television, they're going to be in some sort of labor role, a maid, a gardener.
There's one exception.
Which one?
The telenovela about Celia Cruz.
That's it. She's one of the few.
But it was also produced in Colombia, and they're, for the most part, proud of their heritages.
Yeah, I mean, so I never watched the one with Celia Cruz, but every single one that I've watched on major Spanish language television comes from Mexico. And yeah, they usually got blue eyes, blonde hair. They dye their hair something.
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell the story about Celia Cruz and have a light-skinned Celia or a light-skinned Manuel, or you can't do that. You have to tell the story as is.
I'm sorry, did you see the Lifetime movie about Aaliyah?
Nope. I saw who they casted as Aaliyah. I saw who they casted as Missy, and I said nope.
And Timberland was Asian, basically.
I stopped even caring after I found out who they casted as Missy. I just said nope.
Wow.
And then I found out it was worse than I thought.
Later.
Where did I put the lighter?
Good job, Assad. Good job. All right, hold up. Let me.
I got another lighter.
You do?
So, what's it talking about? What were we talking about?
So, Celia Cruz, but the thing is, though, I don't think they were played on Telemundo or Univision that I'm aware of.
This was shown on Netflix, and a non-Spanish speaking black heterosexual man watched an entire run of a telenovela. I'm far from what would be the stereotypical telenovela fan or even a soap opera fan. I'm an action movie
promise you that telenovela does not count for any sort of representation simply because it was not played on any of the major networks.
It was on Netflix.
Yeah, but Netflix isn't Univision or Telemundo. We're talking about where Spanish people are going to consume it, not regular American media. Spanish representation for black people is basically zero.
And this was a major hit in the native country it's produced in, which is Colombia.
Just Colombia, basically. It may be Cuba if they air it there.
I mean, they aired it in Argentina, Chile, Brazil, and I think in Panama as well. And
Argentina is not great for representation either, for obvious reasons.
I saw the victory lap that the team did. Anyway, however,
what victory lap?
They were mocking players on the French side that were actually from Africa and not France.
Oh my God.
And calling them out by country.
So I need you to remember who immigrated there. And just keep in mind, they have grandchildren our age or maybe a little older. But yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So this is what we're dealing with.
However,
the grandchildren of Nazis.
However, I think this is what made it pop there. The music. At the end of the day.
Oh, black people, music and representation. Oh, fantastic.
So these unknown actors playing real life figures in realistic presentation, slightly dramatized because it's supposed to be a love story, not a straight up biopic. But they I mean, other than the dramatic liberties, they did stick to the true story of who Celia Cruz was, and they even inserted in Santeria myths about how her African heritage played a role in how good she was as a performer, singer, and as a leader.
What's wrong with Santeria?
Nothing's wrong with it. They paid homage to the African roots of Cuban culture by including that mythical side. Like someone lost their daughter in the beginning. I think it was Celia's aunt or something like that. And at the funeral, she's wishing for her daughter to come back. Breaks the pinky off the body, and then it cuts to a more modern day Celia Cruz with a bent pinky performing in New York, doing her signature azúcar.
Azúcar.
Yeah, and those little touches was cool in the show, and that was just episode 1. So the fact that it was about a musician, that's what got me interested. It's like, okay, foreign language film, foreign language series. Oh, okay, I'll check it out. And then it sucked me in by the paying homage to Afro-Cuban culture, to Afro-Cuban religion, to African spiritualism, and telling a pretty much a love story, a teenage love story.
I feel there's a lot of erasure worldwide when it comes to Black culture, but tons of representation in the music, though, tons of it. So they will so this is where Black people are loved. Music, that's it. Tego Calderon, basically until they can Iggy Azalea and Elvis Presley their way into certain positions, or Justin Timberlake it, Black people are represented in music.
I mean,
and sports, great.
Modern Western music in general would not exist without Black people.
Boom.
It doesn't matter what American, South American, Mexican, some kind of whatever culture your music came from, there's Black influence in it. Country music, rock music, we invented it. Blues, we invented it. Obviously, we did funk, disco, hip hop, house music, techno music, drum and bass, jungle, salsa, merengue, reggae, reggaeton. It's all Black music. All of it. Pop music is an amalgamation of all of what I just said. It's yes. Black music, even if it's a white performer doing it.
Oh. So, guess who's coming on the show next week?
Britney Spears. No,
we could only be so lucky. That'd be kind of dope. I got questions.
Yeah. I want to know what Louisiana dishes she can make. I'm sure she learned how to cook by now. And she's from Louisiana. What Cajun food you know, Brittany? Not Brittany, not my partner Versatile. Britney Spears.
I was gonna sit there and compare shit that teenage children do. The children are assholes.
See, I couldn't be no TV presenter because I would ask like the most mundane questions for the most famous people.
That's a good thing because you are a good cop, I'm bad cop.
Like what's the name? Laverne Cox. Laverne Cox from Orange is the New Black. I come up to she's on the red carpet. She's doing her thing, and she come up and said, "I'm not asking about her life story. We know that her brother, her transition period. I'm asking what her favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie is."
Oh, I'm gonna ask if any sex scenes on the show are real or fake.
Okay.
Are you not curious? I mean, who watches?
I have a friend that played a bit role on that show.
And tell me about it.
She's a local. Mm-hmm. We both went to CCY together. Her name is Sid Martinez. She played a
she's on my Facebook.
Yeah, she played a bit role in.
Can she tell us whether or not the sex scenes are real?
She had a fight scene. Oh. The one that plays what's it? Tiffany Doggett. She goes up against that actress. It's during the time when the prisoners took over the prison, and she played a random in the Latino gang. antagonizing that character. So she got to work with her for a second. She said it was a mostly woman production and it was a wonderful experience. She even showed pictures of her makeup after they wrapped the shooting.
That's pretty dope.
So yeah, I'll meet Ben Stiller. Hey Ben Stiller, how do you like your pancakes?
So, how many times have you been confused with the guy from Zoolander?
So you will ask the troll questions. I'll ask the silly questions. Arnold Schwarzenegger, I am one of your biggest fans as a kid watching action movies. Now the world is dying to know. What do you put in your milkshake?
Which one of your kids do you think looks the most like you?
Arnold got a brown baby, looks just like him. And he's a bodybuilder too.
Mm-hmm. None of the kids with his wife looks like him.
One of them did Disney movies. Patrick Schwarzenegger. He did a couple of Disney movies.
That Mexican lady cloned Schwarzenegger.
But she was Ecuadorian.
Whatever. Get offended. I don't give a shit. I mean, I get called Mexican all the time. Here we go.
If you were in Atlanta, you would be called Mexican because anything that speaks Spanish is Mexican out there.
So when my sister went to Texas to go visit my uncle, they asked if she was black and Mexican, which basically is a Puerto Rican. So, and then they're like, lift your hair. Are you black and Puerto Rican? Or no, they said, are you black and Mexican? It with like I can't do the Texas accent, but yeah.
So, my cousin down in Atlanta, he said it's only three types of Puerto Ricans. There's Fat Joe, there's J Lo, and dude from the Yankees, and everybody else is Mexican.
Which dude from the Yankees?
It was like 06, 07 at the time, so I think he's talking about A-Rod.
Possibly. I mean, we've got Derek Jeter too. I know he's half black, half white. Same thing.
Yeah, it was Jeter.
Yeah, because I mean, if Jeter's got some Native American in there, what is a Puerto Rican? We're nothing more than pit bulls without papers. So we've got a little bit of everything in us, which is cool. So we've got, the Native American, we got the Spaniard, we got the African, and we got the rhythm, and we got the food.
But here's the thing, though. My cousin, he was in college at the time in Savannah, and he had took a train from Savannah to Atlanta for the family reunion we were at, and his college roommate decided to drive from Savannah to Atlanta. A day after he arrived, his roommate arrived, and we were meeting him by the mall in Atlanta. He was Mexican. Like, really Mexican. I walk up to him. I forgot what his name was, but my cousin introduced him as the cousins. And he's like, "What's up, Holmes? Are you from up north? Hey, welcome to the A." He was bald-headed. He had a mustache, a wife beater, and khaki shorts.
With the socks all the way up.
But he was wearing Air Force Ones because he's in the A. But there was only one thing missing. He drove a green Toyota Camry. He didn't drive a lowrider.
That's Puerto Rican shit.
Quiet as is kept, there's quite a few Puerto Ricans in Atlanta.
How was the muffler, if you don't mind me asking? What was the condition of the muffler?
Bone stock. It was a brand new car.
Okay.
And he was a college kid at the time. As you wrestle for the big lighter.
Who's wrestling?
So The black diaspora is an interesting thing. It's very interesting when it comes to the Latin sphere, especially in certain South American countries. And it's interesting the Western lens when it comes to the Canadian and European spheres. And then there's the duality if you were the son and daughter of African immigrants in these Western countries. So you are aware of your African side, but you're in an environment that doesn't always hold it in high regard.
Please, anti-blackness is worldwide, including Africa.
Then there's the other side of that. There's the Africans that feel that by the sheer fact that they have been able to hold on to their culture and we haven't, that they feel that they're better than us.
I wonder why we weren't able to hold on to it. We got bomba music, but that's about it.
But then there's the ones that are so appreciative of us in the African diaspora that they welcome us with open arms every time we come. And some places have even emulated American and British culture, Black British culture.
They love. Do you want some Gushers?
No, thank you. There's one of the biggest drill artists out in Europe right now is from Ghana.
Cool. Is it the guy that Bola's always listened to?
Probably, but he's actually from he still lives in Ghana.
What's his name?
Can't remember. His big breakout here was Sore, which was produced by 808 Mello, who was the same producer of Pop Smoke.
Okay, so Bola listens to a lot of Pop Smoke and Sleepy Hollow. Well, I do too, but so it must be that guy.
No, it's none of them. He's actually African.
No. There's an African rapper he listens to.
Yeah.
Is that the one he listens to? The one you've heard at his house?
Probably. I've never heard him play that song, but I know. I haven't listened too deep into his catalog. I just know a couple of cuts. But thank you. So, but outside of that, in Guinea, for example, and I have friends that have been to Guinea and have confirmed this, they're out there getting tattoos of American flags on themselves. They're out there getting shirts with American logos on them just for the look. Yet still living African. Communal cooking and whatnot.
So I would understand if they were a teenager with a black card in 2001.
I'm talking about 20-somethings and 30-somethings in one of the poorest countries in West Africa.
Right now.
One of the ones that is richest with culture and one of the first to go independent from French rule.
Why?
Why? They actually hold the Black American aesthetic in high regard.
Why?
We showed them a better way to be black in the world that hates us.
So, did you see what Trevor Noah said before? He had a comedy special.
Well, South Africa has a way different experience than.
No. He said
West
that
Africa.
he was so excited because he said that that Black Americans, that they always hype you up and they make you feel awesome. So you got to watch it. So his stand up, I never really could get into him in the beginning. And I would watch his stand-up, and I was a big fan of his stand-up. And then Trevor Noah does a week in Chicago, and he was very comfortable on stage when he wasn't restricted behind a desk. Afterwards, he went back behind the desk, and he was more comfortable. But I felt like that week in Chicago away from the desk really eased him into his position. And he just talks a lot about the differences. Obviously, he talks about a lot of worldwide stuff, but in his comedy specials, he does talk about the differences in the culture here and how he always wanted to be a part of it. So I would definitely watch it. I'll send you a video.
Very interesting. All right, so that's enough for tonight. We went over our projected half hour again.
Oh dear, we did.
But
Oh yeah, but here's what we're gonna have next week, by the way. So we're going to have city council you say it, I'm sorry. From the city council, Josh. What are you doing?
texting. Keep going.
Oh, so I need you to talk though.
Keep going.
Hmm?
All right. So you were saying about Josh.
Oh yeah, he's gonna be from Hartford City Council. He's gonna be on our show next week. He's gonna be talking about the charter review and how much of a failure it was.
Okay.
So,
All right. So we're gonna cut it there. We don't have anybody to ask the hip hop question of the day, but
you've never asked me it, so you need to ask me next week.
okay, we'll do. So, in the spirit of hip hop, we say Godspeed. In the spirit of everything that we're fighting for in the world, do not give up. All right. See you next week. Peace.
Bye, y'all.